7. And do we want, did everybody get a chance to look at the meeting minutes from the last meeting?
I didn't see any issue.
Thank you. I looked at them and I.
They're pretty funny.
Too. So,
I'll put a motion forward to accept the meeting minutes from our last meeting.
Second.
all in favor?
Just want to have a.
Okay. And then that puts us right into the foods update.
Okay, let's see if you have the Dairy Queen fundraiser at the beginning of May, made $500.
That's fantastic.
Everyone supported. The Friends are starting a membership drive. The Friends, not the board specifically, but so there'll be pictures floating around, starting at the book sale, I believe. They're not back from the printer yet, but they will be shortly. And book sale will be on the 6th from 9 to 1.
Do you need any help between now and then prepping for the book sale?
I don't think so. As you can see, most of our stuff has been moved over and everything, I think we're gonna do some last minute sorting on Monday, but I think.
You need help day up.
Probably,
Okay.
Instructions are always good.
Be here when you plan to
Anytime
get here.
between 7:30 to 2:30, and I think the guy with the truck is coming right after the sale.
Okay.
So we should have everything cleaned up by that afternoon, so,
Maybe it come as well, so I'll try.
thank you.
Yeah, no worries.
Appreciate it. So that's about that.
Okay.
Cool.
Let's see, I think we're gonna need to pass on the director's report and the budget report for the moment, since the director's not here yet, coming soon.
Yep.
Probably policy update.
So, we do have a quick one. I've got the rough draft pulled together for the Narcan, appendix to go with our emergency plan. So I'm gonna run it through Andrew first, just to make sure he's good with everything. We're keeping the same format. So, that's in draft. I'm hoping that over this next couple of weeks, I'll get it back and forth with Andrew, so I can get it to you guys before the next meeting. One other thing to go with policies, I had to cancel the training. I can't do the training for the staff coming up in June for the emergency procedures. We had a change in schedule and I'm gonna put my daughter first, so I'm working with Andrew. I know exactly. I'm working with Andrew and we're gonna reschedule that. So for one of the next upcoming staff meetings, we'll go through that as well. That's it. Oh, and thank you to you guys for empowering me to be able to do this procedure. I was prompted a question in the midst of the candidate night, which has triggered some exceptional discussion about emergency management throughout the town.
That
So,
wasn't my question. was
no,
it?
of course not. Of course not. So thank you all for all your help in getting it to where it is. And you have helped now the town a lot because they have a template to work on.
It's all you, bud.
Yeah,
Just plug and play. That's it.
all right. I think contract update, we'll wait for Andrew. I know there's some of that in his budget or in his director's report. I think that's specific to where Tara's at and what's going on with that, so we can wait for him. Strategic plan goals, probably waits for him as well. I mean, I don't think there's a lot going on there either.
No, honestly, our next big thing with strategic plan is gonna be setting up for the next.
Coming up with the new one.
Yeah, so.
Yeah.
Soliciting for new consultants to help us, I guess.
Yes. And
I was gonna do, shoot, I was supposed to do something, I didn't write it down on a slip or I forgot. I was gonna ask Dr. Cohen who they used, at the school, maybe you remember.
Yeah, I do, but I don't remember the name.
well, and Andrew had a list that we get from the MBLA.
Oh.
That's what he was gonna do, was go there.
Something's experienced in library.
Yes. And the woman we had last time was amazing.
Awesome.
So that was where he.
Perfect. But I won't write it down.
Maybe that's what happened last night too.
Sorry, I'm sorry. Oh, I bet you're right.
Okay, so rectory subcommittee update, do we want to wait for Gay or do you have this quote in? Look at that. Oh yeah, I see you're coming.
Perfect.
Okay, so that would be the next thing.
And I can do super high level and then we can get into the details of this
Oh,
also.
what year the meeting you
Yeah,
went to?
once she comes in. So we're still kind of at a, I don't want to say a pause, but the bigger group of discussion of properties across the town is really starting to go down that road. And because you have just exceptional timing, I'm gonna dig right into this sucker. So this goes along with the rectory subcommittee. I sat in on the Council on Aging meeting last week. And this was the official presentation from Advocates as a town administrator on what the recommendations were for the senior center moving forward, so doing the full evaluation. The presentation that we had received was pretty much identical. So when you talk about the numbers, dollar amount, when we're talking about the 8 million, 12 million, 14, so on and so forth, I'm rounding, those still hold true. With one modification, they are recommending a between 25 to 30% buffer for soft costs. So that includes, like they had talked about then, additional architecture, the owner's project manager, construction contingency, and then any other testing, geotech and whatnot. And then potentially even a little bit more of a bump up on the furniture, fixtures and equipment. So the costs are expensive. They are very expensive. A couple of things that did come out in that meeting was the town either last year or recently had purchased land just
What printer is it going?
north of the existing senior
There
center.
is another one.
The majority of the land is just with CPA money, if I recall correctly, except for 1 acre. 1 acre that was purchased with general funds, which means it's allowed to be done with anything the town wants. The town's intent was to have that as parking spaces. So in this meeting, they already started the bigger discussion of like, hey, can you just get gravel out there? What's the next step so that we can have a safer parking
Oh, this
environment?
one is the Eco.
I was asked to speak a couple different times because we had our research done on the directory. So it was actually quite nice because I didn't have that memorized. I know, I'm sorry. But Jeremy had his computer up there, so he was able to actually pull up the numbers. So I was able to talk to them about, hey, what we had talked about, why we'd set the parameters we did about rebuild in place and use existing and what the costs were in that should. There was a big discussion about both construction here, putting the senior center directly next to us and building out the parking spaces. They, in their design of that, the building square footage is still the second size, which is still a very large building, that would be occupy that space. So where the rectory is and likely a fair bit further towards the road, expanding parking out that way, and still having a total, or I think the total is 75 parking spaces, at least in their initial design. That all, I don't want to say goes out the window.
75 additional to what we have currently.
75 total.
Total, okay.
And that was actually my discussion. I said, because they asked me like, well, what do you guys use for parking? I said, currently we're at about 35, 33 or whatnot. I said, we can fill those with just one event. So, in the ideal world, if, the senior center at their wants 75, in theory, we need another 30 on top of that. That was a good discussion point. We went back and forth. I think it was actually received pretty well. But I also said, hey, this is still just, it's what we know right now. We're obviously open to any discussion and dialogue. From, what was the last part? One of the things, and this is that I think is important, but definitely not a deal breaker, was the terms the architect used about disruption to the library. So if construction was to occur and we had the senior center here, their goal and everyone's goal is that the internal operations of the library never cease. So we can continue to conduct business and do exactly what we do. But as they said, you're going to have a major construction site all around you.
Right.
So we would be very limited. The question came from a couple of representatives of the Council on Aging about timelines. And he said he expected that construction phase would likely be a 15-month period. to build the building, to do the rest of the renovation of land and everything else that would be around the area. I did not speak up about this in that meeting, but one of the things we would need to have an evaluation of the safety concerns, making sure that we have safe space for our patrons to move in the midst of construction. If, this was, the town was to go down this road and have it's co-located with the senior center.
So maybe if you were to block this out of the parking lot so that they couldn't go out that direction, and then they were only using our side of the parking lot, maybe that's a possibility, especially where this is our entrance currently.
Yep, absolutely. It would likely change, we may have to limit enrollment in some of the programs.
Mhm.
Like, so for some of the children's programs where we're opening, to like 40 spots,
Right.
we may have to start capping.
Okay,
Just from a safety side.
right,
You can only have so many spots to be able to put
Right.
cars.
or potentially hold at a different location.
Or
Yes.
see if we can get them to park somewhere else and use the senior center bus to bring them up.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Good idea.
We're all synergy here.
Well, and
Yeah, that's a great idea, though.
I think that was actually one of the bigger discussions about the construction side was that there are a lot of perks. Yes, it would be new and challenges, but it's just gonna take coordination to talk about what space is used when and, when active times are. That's really what it comes down to. I think it was, I don't think it's what the Council on Aging was necessarily expecting. The Morrison Drive one was pushed out, that one that's over by the fire station, that's a no-go. The construction in place, cost-wise, is still pretty feasible for the senior center. This one is, significantly less than the whole new build that would go in. So there's three, frankly, great options, just expensive options. So I know there's gonna be a lot bigger discussions that come down the road from there. One thing, if I may deviate slightly, separate from the discussion of construction, I stayed on the meeting because I understood that there was going to be also a discussion about technology. The Council on Aging is getting a grant, and it may have already been finalized, for $15,000 for seniors' computer literacy education. And likely with that, they're also going to be getting computers and actual resources to be able to do that. And one of the questions that came up to us was, you guys have the library of things. How can we work together to figure that out? Can we leverage what you already have existing with some of the resources that we may be getting? And my immediate response was yes,
Yes.
and, I mean, why wouldn't?
Why not, right?
So, I'm forgetting his name, Andy Nicole, who is Carolyn's husband from our rectory group.
Oh, okay, Carolyn Lawson,
Yeah.
okay.
He is the project manager for this, and that's what he's done his whole life, is project management for in IT stuff. So he's all over it. He's very excited because this is a great opportunity. It's a lot of cash, and to be able to really help seniors with, access computer and literacy thereabouts. So coming down the road at some point, there will likely be bigger discussions, like once they actually start getting money and start putting that to physical inventory, how do we coordinate and help them?
Right.
So
Amazing.
kind of cool,
Yeah.
That is very cool, yeah.
but that's the Council on Aging meeting. It was fun.
Did you get a sense as to what direction the group themselves was leaning?
Ooh, I think it's fairly split. And I think there's a lot of reluctance to build in place because of all they see is what they have instead of like what it could be.
Well, and the challenges of having to leave that building for so long.
Correct.
Where are they gonna go? What's that
Yes.
gonna look like? That's scary.
Mhm. And they did talk about that.
Agreed.
And we had actually had a separate conversation about that. And there was already discussions about coordination with local churches and other space, like how do you still do the programs you want to do? But how do you, deal
Maybe
with that
we-
construction? And we've got space.
Right?
Yep.
I mean, depending on their timing and when they are.
A lot of them are maybe during,
Afternoons or,
yeah,
But
during the
actually,
day.
yep, so our select board representative was present at the Council on Aging, so I'll pass it on over.
So I guess I just wanted to point out that they didn't really talk like amongst themselves about what the options were. Like Jeremy tasked them, that is the Council on Aging, with prioritizing the preferences. So like I think some, some people may have weighed in, but I think a lot of people it was completely new to them, these
Makes sense,
proposals.
yeah.
So, I mean, I think it's still tough because the proposal for the corner on North Avenue and 16 was, people were very invested in that, and that's not off the table, but it's more expensive only because that property that the town bought for municipal use has expensive engineering costs. Anything that the town builds there will be more expensive. So that's sort of anyhow. So it's yeah, I think there are people who still like that option, but I mean, it is I think it is intriguing the possibility of synergy with the library and the Council on Aging. So like, I do like that. So yeah, but I think, yeah, they have not really discussed it yet because it was so new. So yeah, and I don't know. Well, right, there's the upcoming joint meeting. So did you talk about that yet?
Not yet.
Okay,
I-
okay, then, yeah. And I just
Yeah.
wanted to say that, yeah, they like any sort of preferences expressed were kind of like maybe just people who are more vocal, and other people were probably just digesting, so.
Right.
And to a little bit more detail, the property that's on the corner, so North Ave and 16, the town only owns a relatively narrow part on North Ave, but that's what opens up to a much larger space in the back. So because there are private owners of like the lot that's directly near the corner and where that bordering house boundary is, you don't have enough frontage to be able to put it in the front. So you
Right.
have to go backwards to be able to get what you
Right.
need. Therefore, the engineering costs that I was talking
Okay, so that's it. It's getting the throughway back into the.
Yep. about.
Very interesting. And is there, so just I don't want to belabor the point. So for the engineering costs we're talking about, is it too steep to put a road directly to a building, or is it embankment you have to build or something like that? Is that part of the issue?
They did not articulate it specifically, but you're talking about at a minimum, putting in a driveway.
Yeah.
That stretches like 100 some odd yards.
Okay.
So even just that part, and you are working down a slope, so you've got to deal with that, managing that challenge.
Right.
And yeah, so, but they did not, the advocates did not specify exactly what it was, but that was the basis that was there.
Elena, did you have something else to add?
Oh, no, I mean, those were costs that were built into the previous proposals for that property, and that was part of why they were so high. Because, yeah, so it's, yeah, and I guess what strikes me is anything the town puts there will have those costs built into it. So that's, and so people, it would be nice if the town could sort of separate the cost of developing that land at all for the purpose that it was purchased for
Yeah.
a specific project, but
Right.
you can't really separate that because it essentially ends up being one price tag for a project.
Right.
Sure.
Yeah.
So that's interesting that the two private lots are not being developed, or
So
both?
the one on
Nobody's
this
got any?
corner,
Not yet.
there is I believe there's a proposal that's gone to the planning board.
Okay.
So, but I mean, yeah, I'm reporting that secondhand, so like we'd have to check
Yeah.
that. I don't go to planning board meetings. Like, I go to
Oh, it's
council
been
meetings,
a
I go to
while.
library trustees.
Why?
Yeah.
Somebody should, I don't know why. Yeah.
Well, in the end, this is going back some months. One of the other discussion points also from an emergency services perspective, from a town planning, they didn't want to put access to the potential construction site on Route 16. Because then that becomes a cut through.
Yeah.
So they only wanted to have access from North Ave into there. And that was, if I recall correctly, that was quite a big discussion, and that also, therefore, now no matter what you do, your costs are going to be that distance.
And from the North Ave side, complexity of dealing with school traffic as well. Yeah,
Sure.
okay,
Sure.
understood.
That's the big stuff. The other stuff that was there, council on aging stuff it was more internal stuff. So from us, from the rectory side, that was our big stuff.
Cool.
Do we want to discuss the joint meeting briefly while we're here? Because Andrew's not here yet. so
Sure.
He's still coming. So I don't have a whole lot more to tell you other than what you've seen via email. So, Jeremy asked if we could come up with some dates for a joint meeting next week, with the Council on Aging and the Select Board to discuss. I think initially, when we talked about this several weeks or a month ago, it was to discuss the different plans and kind of starting the conversation with all of the boards to talk about what was gonna happen with that space over there. And just to get a general consensus to get Jeremy kind of out of the middle, of having to like manage all of that.
I don't think,
I don't either. Since then, and what's happened over the last 2 weeks, maybe, is the Serenity Tea House is now being,
yeah, but
Their
some of them
leases-
might not be aware of
Yeah.
what's going on.
their lease is not being renewed.
Okay.
So they are going to be needing a new space. And it was mentioned, I think by more than one person at the town hall, that they should move into the rectory. So that is now being included in next week's meeting. They have been invited to that meeting as well to discuss that possibility and come up with an RFP, because it obviously has to go out to bid and it has to be a public thing. It's this, we can't do this for just them. We have to put it out for anybody who may be interested. So that's part of next week as well. Do you have?
Sure, so I'm gonna be cautiously optimistic, and I'm just gonna put this out. We've had obviously challenges of, trying to make sure we figure out what we can do with the building, use and space and so on and so forth. Talk about a lot of variables that were just kind of thrown out the window all at once. And a bit challenging and personally a little frustrating.
Agreed.
But I'm gonna try to come at this from two different perspectives. One is kind of a business perspective, and then the other one is using this to support the direction you want to be. So from a business perspective, in theory, we could keep revenue in the town. That's an awesome thing. I never thought about having a coffee shop or tea shop attached to the library, but I think it's actually kind of neat personally. My desire as a member of this board would be if we went down this road, or what I would voice to select board and others, is that we make sure that whatever it is, whatever the RFP is, we make sure we cap it. So we come at this from a known variable. We said, hey, this is a great idea, cool, if this is gonna happen, Roger, but it's only gonna happen for either 2 or 3 years. So, and whoever's coming in is gonna be putting some of the funds forward to fix up the location, because currently we don't have that in any of our budgets.
Right.
So what does that do for the library? Well, I think 2 things. One, it's now gets movement in that building. Things start getting fixed. And whether the footprint changes or however or whatnot, we now know that that's gonna be even occupied, which is a positive thing, because it keeps the other critters and other stuff out of it. But it'll start getting a facelift and kind of changing that look that we've been talking about all around the building. And 2, that then gives us a kind of a target of saying, hey, if we set up this contract or whatever it is for a 3-year period, we open it for a 3-year period, it can say, the reason we've closed it at 3 years is because we know we want to go into construction or some other step a year after that. So that now gives us a clear window of like, all right, here's our planning cycle. Here's how we can move to where this building is now back to what we desired and what the community was looking for.
Right, so on that note, in my opinion, if I agree with that, if they're willing to say, yes, I'll do it, we'll do it for 3 years and then find another, in the interim, so we can find another space. I think that's a great idea. My concern is that, one thing positive on that is now the town's residents are gonna say, oh my God, that really is a usable space, and oh my God, let's, you know, keep using it, even though they're gonna be moving out eventually. Whether it ends up becoming only, you know, is the town gonna say, well, let's keep a cafe or a something in there? And is it gonna get taken away from us? That's number one, but maybe not,
It's a possible concern.
but it's
Sure.
definitely a concern.
Yep.
The other thing is, like you said, and it wouldn't be on us, but the in my opinion, the cost to renovate that place to make it
Yes.
usable for a place to serve food
Is extensive.
is going to be extensive.
Yeah.
And so
And I
whether or
don't-
not they can afford that, I don't know, but
Well, they did
that
the
can't
first
be on
time.
us.
They did it the first time. That was not an easy renovate. But,
True.
but the thing that I would keep in mind here, just from a financial perspective,
Mm-hmm.
all of the things that we've had struggles getting revenue from the town,
Mm-hmm.
now you get a revenue source that goes directly to the town.
Mm-hmm.
So if we have a way of thinking about that synergistically, that means I don't want to say anything, but that may mean that we have enough revenue to support some of the library objectives.
Correct.
So if you think of it that way, and I think Jeremy may be thinking about this as well, because right now, sure, that's a business in town, but it's not really town revenue. Right, it's rent into a landlord.
Right.
The landlord pays the same taxes that he would have paid no matter what. There's no real
But nothing
real
really goes
increase
back
in
to
revenue.
town.
This gives more financial flexibility if we can talk to Jeremy and kind of
Well, I guess that's my
put
question
it
is,
together.
then, and it wouldn't
Just
be
to
us.
finish out the thought though.
Yeah, go ahead.
You need to couple the purpose of both. You can't have it be, and that's why the 3-year might be an issue. Because if you've got someone who's generally thinking about the interests of the library in mind
Sure.
and being synergistic with the library, you want somebody who's
More long-term.
invested in that and can carry that business forward. And I'm not sure whether that is compatible,
Sure.
but I don't know.
Right.
But I can,
Sorry to interrupt you.
No, that's okay. That's okay.
but I was thinking like, they're not currently, it's not connected to us at all. So it's not like we would send our, it's a whole different door to get to it if.
Correct.
And we don't allow food and drink in here currently,
Right.
notwithstanding my language here, but in general, right, you don't allow
I mean,
the
yeah.
drink in here, outside food and drink in here.
Closed covered waters, closed covered, maybe a coffee, but like, gotta be careful because they still.
Got the carpet and whatnot, so I,
That's exactly what I'm saying. You need to have a synergistic approach. to
Right.
this.
and that's,
You can't have it be where, the cafe just, people from the cafe just rush out of the library and destroy
Or
it.
vice versa.
Yeah.
And vice versa.
if.
Vice versa isn't so bad. I don't think library folks are gonna be running with.
No, I'm just saying, if there's an entrance, if suddenly we have a kids programming and suddenly kids are like taking off into the place of business, I mean,
See, it depends. I think that's probably a cool thing if you're a cafe owner.
It could be, because then
it
it gets
could be
traffic.
if the parents are following them in and they get more traffic. But if it becomes
the thing
a
with them.
safety thing or a, you know what I mean, a liability thing.
Elena knows, I'm in that place all the time. I know those people very well.
Yeah,
They have birthday parties for kids in there.
yeah,
They're doing all that stuff.
no, and they're great.
But I'm just saying,
I
the
agree.
mentality has to be correct. I'm not
Right,
saying,
right.
I don't know if it is.
I agree. I just want to make sure it doesn't become all of a sudden like there's an entrance in between and there's a liability because suddenly,
Right.
a couple of kids escaped from the,
Well,
the story time and they're running rampant in there. And
And what
parents are like,
happens
where'd they go?
when their hours don't meet our hours,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right? Because they are probably going to want to be open more hours than we are,
Well,
especially on the Saturday,
they're sort of, Saturdays, when are we open on Saturdays?
2, 3 hours.
9 to noon.
9 to noon.
It's 9 to noon, right?
Right, and I think they're till 2 or
Yeah, I
they
think it's
later,
That
2 or 3.
that to me is actually,
More reason to get us to open longer.
I'm not disagreeing, but like it's a good justification to ensure that we keep a physical barrier between the two buildings.
True.
So, like, I love the idea of down the road of how,
Yeah.
they've mapped out how
I
to
agree.
connect this and make this, but you know, if it is a business executing a business on town-owned property, they're going to have to adhere to the town's policies and requirements. And we, as an elected body, have say in some of that to make sure that we can affect it correctly for us and for the patrons of the library.
How does that work as far as like, so obviously it wouldn't have anything to do with the library itself, but how does it work with, now who becomes the landlord?
Right,
Is
and
it-
responsible
is
for
there
the
like a-
toilets back up,
Right.
whatever. Like, because I,
It won't be us.
I'm concerned about that. I'm concerned about the septic.
Right.
So.
That is a big concern for me because of the issues that we've had with our own bathroom facilities and you know, now you're doubling that usage
Right,
potentially,
potentially, right.
you know.
Good question. When you think about the water usage that's happening in any
Yeah.
facility serving.
And the well,
Yeah.
is our well set up to handle that? Is the water we have considered public enough for a business serving beverages?
Right.
You know, I
That
know we
makes-
have a public water source, but is there a different classification for a business?
One of the things that the landlord is essentially saying he doesn't want them there for
Yeah,
is because he believes that they're more of a restaurant rather than a cafe that cooks and has, actually produces grease.
okay,
So, but this is the thing that, knowing their conflict
Yeah.
that they're having, that's the thing that they've actually been trying to stay away from. So I think if we put a requirement that says we have the same septic problems that landlord had, we can't have like a massive amount of essentially fats and grease and things poured down drains. You know, that's gotta be a restriction. So they'd be restricted on the types of things that they could serve and what they could do.
which they're restricted on currently, correct?
Yeah.
So gonna get geeky, they can just install another water separator, then it's not gonna be an issue, so,
But when, if we're dealing with landlords and Mendon, can't do it.
But again, that's just a question, like, obviously it won't be the library's responsibility, but then who then becomes the landlord? Yes, it's the town, but there's gonna be somebody specific that's,
Who is taking those phone calls?
Responsible.
Because
Right.
it shouldn't be
No.
Andrew. Like,
No.
that's not in his current job description.
no,
You know,
it is like the current structure of the town, it would be Dan Byer.
yeah.
Not saying that's right or wrong, but he's our facilities coordinator.
okay,
So like if that was designed today, he would be the phone number that they would call.
okay,
Now, I have one, I don't even know like whether our town's lawyers have evaluated the whole concerns or package or
right,
whatever.
because this kind of came up so like
It did move very quickly.
quickly,
That's a fact.
with just a conversation that happened at the coffee shop kind of thing and in passing, and before you know it was, yeah.
You know, but that's the cool part about small towns. I'm gonna say that out loud. I know you can yell at me if you want to. That's the
No,
great part about small towns. It's also the hardest part about small towns. Sometimes we get ahead of ourselves. We don't recognize that, hey, we can't just legally do something.
Strongly feel that that's what's happening here. I feel like we are putting the cart before the horse. Like and that's where all my feels are coming in with this. And my frustration is that, you know, this is our first conversation we've even been able to have about it.
I know,
And we're meeting next week,
There's a-
like
there's
with
a-
them.
There's a bid process.
Yeah.
Yes.
yes.
Yeah, that's to be an open bid.
Bid process.
Absolutely.
Well, yeah, like Jeremy just sent out this email and then Andrew forwarded it to us and we're all like, what? You know, like, where did that come
No, I
from?
mean, it was out of the blue.
Yeah.
No, agreed,
The
agreed.
bidding is, yeah, the bidding process we have to put some conditions in that bidding process. Has to be clearly understood.
Did you talk about parking? Because I think parking is.
Well, that would be another issue.
That's gonna be another
Because-
concern.
Fine enough to have a cafe next door, but if it infringes on the library's parking.
Yeah.
We don't have enough spaces
Right.
to support
And
that.
then the question is, are you talking, okay, fine, put the cafe over there, but does that mean then that you need to expand parking? And then what does that mean?
And where does that go?
And that changes the footprint
Yeah.
as well, or could change the footprint.
And I'm just concerned with the cost of renovating that space and making that a viable space for a food service business.
Yeah.
Right,
You know,
and
and
that
that's
pays
gonna
for
be,
that, is that
Yes.
100% on the whoever moves into that space?
Yeah.
Or
they
is
go
it,
into that.
you know what I mean? Like, who pays for that? Because it's not the library's building right now.
So just to, I don't want to presume anything. on
No,
you,
agreed,
But
agreed.
in conversations, that's absolutely a cost that they're trying. They're
Okay.
part of the problem with getting kicked out of that space is they invested like $100,000 into it so far.
Okay.
That gives you an idea of the magnitude of investment
Right,
they're willing
and
to make.
I think it's a great little space. I think it's a great little business. I
They
think,
have the money.
Well, that's, I didn't know, well, you have to do that. Again,
Usually,
because that's what's gonna probably be,
Yeah, exactly.
or more.
right, right.
But look at what that landlord did to them. Oh my God,
Hmm.
they invested a huge amount of money in space.
But do they seem to be out by?
I think that they're going on a month-to-month basis right now.
Okay.
And I think it's because they were so devastated by it. They just said, can you give us some time to react? So I think he's trying to help. Yeah. Some.
Who's the landlord of the?
Oh.
Just curious.
It was, look at the letter, it's on that letter,
Okay.
that was in the email.
I'm just gonna be cautiously optimistic. And I'm really trying because I think there's,
There's possibilities, I just see a lot of challenges, because again, if they have to invest 100, say, just for round numbers, $100,000, that's a lot of money to invest with only a 3-year commitment. Which is
Correct.
what we're talking about
Right.
essentially here.
Right.
So I just, you're talking that kind of money to get that building, that space viable, to make sure that the well and the septic is all, because the septic isn't even connected over there right now.
no,
Right.
The septic, so there is,
Thompson's there, but it's not connected.
Yeah.
so the water,
Priests do go to the bathroom. I know they do.
no, they're
No,
lucky
it's
about
all-
over there.
Yeah,
But it's all been
nothing.
discounted. Yeah, no, it's all been discounted.
It was just a joke, really, honestly.
Oh,
It's a holy.
I have a Catholic stamp. I can make jokes.
Alright, so are we,
I get it.
are we good with this topic? I'm not sure there's a whole lot more.
No, my other concern is with all the projects that are potentially on the board right now, between the possible rectory renovation to become part of the library, between the possible rectory renovation to become the senior center, or whatever you wanna call it, and then now it's all of a sudden gonna be a cafe. So like, obviously it's not us, we're not the sole decision makers, but like, what gets put on hold because now suddenly this is possibly gonna become cafe, maybe temporary, maybe not, like, who makes that decision that we're not gonna no longer move forward with the senior center? Or we're gonna no longer, and I understand that we're willing to say, let's see if we can put a stamp on it to say 3 to 5 years and, then we have it to move on. But like, who does that? Elaine, I see you're popping back up, are you gonna?
Well, I think that's part of the motivation of the joint meeting is to have that conversation, because yeah, I agree.
With all the, okay.
There's a lot, and it does feel a lot like there have been a lot of discussions that have happened in a siloed way. So yeah, the start will be like bringing in all of the decision makers, stakeholders.
Yeah.
Or at least at the town side, because like ultimately, whatever project is probably gonna need, the voter approval. So like,
Right, of course.
Short-term decision about I think renting out town space, I think that's the select board that has that, like the select board is the landlord for, I think it's Clough. So, or like the town is the select board, or sorry, the town is the landlord, but the select board has to renew things. So like, I think, but I don't think that the select board, my opinion is the select board should not make any decisions in the absence of input from all of you, and so like it's that's part of why I'm here, is so that like I can like help communicate and make sure that no decisions are made. Yeah.
Right.
Without,
One other
without
question
full
on that,
description.
so-
Like anyhow, so I know it's funny how many things came up. It's like a year ago, like nobody else was interested in the rectory, and then suddenly like, multiple parties are like, hey, wait, why didn't anybody
Right.
make use of the rectory? So yeah, so it'll be interesting to see where that goes.
Let me ask you this other question. So based on an open meeting law, what does that mean for us attending that meeting, the joint meeting?
We're okay,
you'd have
because
to
it's
post
fine,
it.
we're already part of the agenda, it's all posted,
So
it's
no
fine.
matter who, any one of us that
All of
wants
us-
to attend, we can all attend.
Yeah,
So like
that's already
the
been
idea
handled.
would be that like all three boards would post.
Yes.
any candidate. So
Ellen
yes.
is taking care of all of that, I've been handling that all in the background.
Totally fine.
Yep, that's
As long as I know that, like,
Yeah,
we don't have to decide who's attending from this group. Whoever's available and wants to attend
Yeah.
is
So-
welcome.
So the
Yeah.
other thing I would point out is, when James did his presentation for the rectory and renovating it.
Yep,
My impression from that was that we were going to have a lot of new space to do programs.
yes,
Okay, so I can see that as, if we're not gonna use it for that, we're going to sacrifice that.
correct.
Okay, but we also might get some additional attention for the library because of a number of things that a cafe would bring in.
Correct.
So, and I'm not talking about just Serenity, whoever bids for the space and wants to be there.
Mhm.
Or if we have a senior center there, or whatever that purpose is, we got to think that if we have a lot of concerns, or we see it as really difficult concerns to overcome, and we really doubt that a vendor would, well, now we got to reconsider what we're really talking about here. Do we want someone to be in there? If we do, then our interest would be in trying to make it easier for them to be in there to some extent,
Correct.
right? To some extent.
Mhm.
But if we don't, then we're gonna foot that bill ourselves. So we got to think about the positives and the negatives and the
Right,
trade.
it's definitely pros and cons to all of it, you know, and even the senior center being next door. You know, we could potentially share programming space, so, you know, as long as we had somebody that was coordinating a schedule.
Yeah.
We could potentially share programming space. You know, possibly even same if there was a cafe over there. There was a cafe over there and they had a big area. Potentially, if the cafe is not open in the evening, we could potentially share programming space. You know, maybe it's a separate door, but we at least still have that potential. So you're right, there's pros and cons.
So if we really want something to
Everything.
be over there, then we got to think about what facilitates that to happen.
Right.
Otherwise, we got to wait for a town vote. to
Right.
Give us the money
And I-
ourselves.
And I understand that the town, like the initial, in my opinion, only. My thought is that the initial thoughts that came from whoever brought it forward, whether it was Jeremy or Tom Morelli or Mike Morelli, sorry, wrong. Or whoever like started the discussion on Serenity moving in, you know, they saw potential revenue, which, why not? You know, any revenue we can get for the town is obviously a positive. So, you know, there's that too. I don't know, I'm all over the place, I know, but my brain, since this whole thing has come out, my brain has been all over the place with all the ideas,
So
so.
I just, because I obviously arrived late. So we're looking at, or at least our preference is for Serenity to be in there, if that's what happens, for like a lease period of 3 years.
So that was an idea,
Suggestion.
that was just a recommendation.
When we want to use that space,
Well, that's
if
the,
we, you know,
idea.
are they staying there? And then we construct I'm a little lost.
So that was,
Yeah,
where my brain was going was if we wanted to open it up for bid, to have some form of tea or coffee shop in there,
right,
we set up the bid so that it's time constrained. We say, hey, you can occupy the space for 3 years. I just threw it out.
sure,
The
sure,
reason I did that was that would then give us the next sequence of year
right.
for them to be vacated and for us to then plan and do the construction that we were looking to do.
So there's nothing that's, and I knew there was nothing that was set currently.
That-
But the idea, at least what you were talking about, is that they would be under lease for a period of years, then they would have
That's
to
one,
move
definitely
on,
one suggestion.
vacate, and then
That's
we
one.
would, yeah. Okay.
But there are many others, which, and I think,
See, as a business, I would look at that and go, you mean you want me to dump a bunch of money in there and be out of 3 years?
Right.
That's just your using,
Understand.
that's not even. That's.
Well, and that, but I guess that's where I was coming from, is we've already been talking to the town, and we have been for a year or more
Yeah.
about using that space. We just spent a boatload of money to get a feasibility study
Yeah,
done
of course.
on, you know, so
And if
that's where my frustration's coming from. And if, I agree, like, bringing in revenue is great and all of that. And but I'm same with you, is
Agreed.
as a business person.
Yep.
There's no way I would only do that. I would dump a bunch of money in there. What I would do, and what I've seen in the business a lot of times is that the business and the landlord share those revenue or share those
That's right.
construction costs. And I don't know what those numbers are going to be. But from my perspective, is that construction cost going to be conducive to what we need later? Or are we gonna have to take it all, we have to pay again to take it all down to do what we wanna do in
Get
5
rid of the
years?
kitchen, get rid of the,
Right. So, and I'm not sure, I guess part of me is, this feels like it's come out of left field
Mhm.
and it's not being
It
well thought
absolutely
out.
has.
And my problem is it's not being well thought out, and I feel like I'm afraid that we are going, as a town, going to spend money for this very not well thought out plan because we like them and we want them to have a good space in
Well,
town.
except that
And don't want
we
them
gotta
to have
give,
to close their business.
we gotta give Jeremy a chance to present what he's thinking. 'Cause
Oh, right,
I
agreed.
think he's, I don't know his mind, and I don't want to speak for him. If I were in his shoes, I'd be thinking about the financial aspects of it.
Of course,
And that would be my focus, because now I've got an income stream that I can use to pay for other town services, the library. And I can say,
the senior
you
center.
guys want another employee? Now I can pay for it. You guys want, you put in long-term.
And that's, I mean, that's interesting, but the,
I don't think that's where it's going. And
If-
it could be wrong, but I
if
just
the
don't.
cafe, if the cafe were moved in there, it solves, and we pay with the state grant, it's usually $50,000 for 2 different studies,
Feasibility
Right.
studies.
feasibility studies, which is not, nothing,
And I guess I'm also
And-
looking at, is the revenue really gonna be that? Like,
yeah.
what are we gonna, what kind of rent are we really gonna charge them?
And an additional employee is wonderful, but that doesn't solve our storage issues. It doesn't
Mhm.
solve our programming issues. It doesn't solve our noise issues.
Right.
So anyway, just my 2 cents.
I'm concerned that once there's a revenue stream from that, it's never going away.
They don't want it to leave.
And we don't really have a say.
That's,
We don't own the building. It's not,
You're
it's
right.
attached to the library, but we have nothing.
Correct.
that is the point, because if you have the goal in mind of what you want that space to be,
Yeah.
then you can work toward that goal. But just think of the alternative. If you have that as your goal, you have to have the public pay. Right? If Jeremy's saying, wait, I've got another way I can probably do this, given all the constraints that have already been voted in by the voters. I hate to say this, but it's the school. Right? Then there's some, pinning him down financially speaking.
Right.
At the town meeting, he's pinned down for the next 5 years. So how is he gonna get any extra? That's what I'm looking at as far as the town is concerned. How am I gonna get any revenue for 5 years to put that rectory in place?
But say that, say the rent's $2,000 a month, you're talking $24,000 a year. That's not not even an employee. That's not even half an employee. That's not even half an employee. It's like, and unless they're charging buku bucks, which I highly doubt, based on demographics in the town and
That's
all
what,
of
that's
that.
why I
like-
don't wanna even, I don't.
Right.
Because they might not, I don't know what Jeremy's planning.
Right.
So we gotta hear that first.
I mean, I think, yeah, I agree with Sean. That we need to hear them out. I'm concerned that gets sacrificed to a retailer business, and then there's no way to expand that direction. You'd have to probably, if we were ever to expand. This, that's not what we were looking into originally anyway. But I agree with Allison that give them that opportunity, It's a revenue stream. It's never going away. And that means we never have an opportunity to
Yeah,
use that
Andrew-
space.
and Andrew sent the confirmation. So everyone should have been on that email, I believe, that the joint meeting is on June 4th at 6:30.
Yeah.
In the town upstairs in the town hall.
I think so.
They haven't finalized, I think, that part yet, nor have they finalized the agenda, but that's coming in the
Yes.
next week or so.
So anybody that is interested, you know, obviously we'll keep everybody in the loop.
Well, everybody was on that.
Everybody was on that email.
And I sent out the email to everybody that included the letter as well.
Yes.
I don't think I saw the letter.
You should have, when I sent out the email with the date and time, or with the date beforehand, there should have been the letter attached to it.
So this will be fascinating.
Yeah, I mean, I'll hear them out. I mean, again,
Yeah.
but
But yeah, it's
I mean, in
important,
terms of our concerns, I want to address our concerns.
it's important that it fits our strategy,
Right.
because if it doesn't, then you're right, we've got to. It's fine for 3 years then.
Maybe
Yeah,
the
down
letter
there.
wasn't
Yeah,
attached to the email
Right.
that they sent.
Exactly.
It was, wasn't it? Okay, so it's there.
I'm not saying.
They're gonna send the agenda though.
Yeah, I think they're
Yeah.
gonna send out the
And
agenda.
that should have everything.
That's really cool.
I don't think I see, in that whole email strand, which in some cases went to 2 people, in some cases went to all of us.
Yeah, it's weird, because some people responded at certain points to like 2 people versus.
Right,
the
yes.
rest.
To a part of it, so I don't see the letter in that strand,
No,
but it
it
doesn't
was-
mean that it's not attached somewhere.
You,
Yeehaw!
no, it was,
Right?
It wasn't your meeting.
no, it was, but it was.
It's the email list title, Legacy House, prospect, contact.
Oh, yeah,
Oh, okay, thank
that's the one. Yeah.
We just had a great
Okay,
idea.
so-
I'm not gonna mention it, though. I'll leave
Yeah,
it to it.
So yeah, so there was an email that came out, here it is, Allison, you are on this.
What's the date? May 27th.
And the subject is Serenity House, prospect for town public library.
Okay, thank you.
And there, that is, the RFP is in there.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, okay, are we ready to move to the back? We're gonna jump back to, unless, is there any more?
No, I don't think so.
Should we, all right, we're gonna jump back to, so I think we've pretty much covered everything else on the agenda at this point, except the director's report and the budget update.
Okay. Yeah, and I'm never going down to Hopedale and then trying to get. I don't know what's going on.
Route 16,
Oh,
it's, yeah, we all had that
You just
issue.
probably turn right on 16.
No, I was coming back from Hopedale and there's, like going past
She's
the,
on the move again.
it's, the movie theater and that, it's just a line of cars. All the
All the way up
It's
16.
because they're digging out in front of,
Wow.
the driving range right now. They decided to do that during rush hour today.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know the back ways? Because
I wish there.
They're, the bridge is
go through Hopedale,
that way, yeah.
over the north side, you're back here. and
I should have known somebody who took a run.
It's like Cumberland Farms. Go north from Cumberland Farms
Oh, okay.
and then go past the old found out building.
I think from now on, I'm just going to stay here.
Before you dig into it,
Yes.
Elaine, did you have something?
Oh, yeah.
I think I'm going to go, so I'm at a conference and I'm just going to dinner, but if there were questions that you had for me, I just figured I'd say.
Oh, there's tons of questions.
All right,
Thank you.
I'm glad I was able to at least hear the conversation about the rectory, and yeah, clearly we'll talk more next week, but yeah.
Yep.
All right, but I will see you.
Have fun.
See you then.
Okay.
Thanks, Elena.
Stay safe.
I'm so thankful to have her as part of the.
Yes.
Okay, so, I'll move quickly through this. So director's report. Put together the June calendar, which also includes July dates. I'm gonna go over at the staff meeting, which is next Tuesday. There are a number of open shifts. One of our on-call folks has been out with, she had surgery and that, so we haven't had her very much. I'm not really getting a lot of open shift response from one of my seniors. In the new year, we might be talking about looking for an on-call, another on-call person and just advertising for that. It's not gonna be additional money, obviously, because it's filling in shifts. So I need to find somebody who is consistent or consistently around. I did want to mention that, I'm away from the July 2nd to the 7th. Right now, I do not have anybody covering my Friday shift. My Friday shift basically lasts for as long as the library is open on a Friday. If I cannot find somebody, presuming everybody's all right with this, we are probably just going to close on the 3rd.
A lot of places are observing July 4th on the
Yeah.
3rd, so I don't think that is a,
It's happened before when
Yeah.
it's been a holiday and then.
I think that's-
So I'm not gonna worry about it. I'm not gonna lose sleep over closing on the 3rd if we need to.
Please.
yeah.
Let's see, as I mentioned, the staff meetings on Tuesday, we'll talk, like I said, about the schedule. But we're gonna focus mostly on summer reading and, registration, incentive program, and the events, and making sure that we have coverage with staff for certain events, particularly the cardboard boat race. If anybody wanted to pencil it in for their calendars, the cardboard boat race is on Monday, the 13th. Tuesday, the 14th is the rain date. Not my
July.
Yeah, July. Not my favorite, date chosen, but that was more along the lines of individuals who cannot make other times. So, that's what we're going with. We'll see how it goes. I've already received interest from people about the boat race, including Caroline Wass, who's, the senior center. They wanted to know the theme and everything. And I believe the Lions are also looking to do the boats. Speaking of which, as long as I'm a little off course here,
Do a class,
okay, I was gonna
Yes.
ask you, because he did ask.
beginning of June. Let's do it.
Jeff from Lions asked, is there, okay,
Let's do it.
all right, so you let me know like what would work for you?
Okay. I'll give you grace.
Yeah,
I mean, it is around.
and then, I mean, I don't know how many you'll
Let's work it
have, but at
down.
least you'll have
Oh,
ones
that's
from the Lions, I said I would check with you.
Yep, perfect. Yeah, I'll get you a date.
Yeah,
But let's, I'm looking like a month before, so like around, there's a week of June 8th to the 12th. Somewhere in there.
Okay. Boat construction workshops.
Yep.
All right, yeah, if you give me a specific day, we'll make it happen, and then I can let you know.
Okay, perfect.
All right. Okay. So I've been working on evaluations for staff.
Sorry. Don't mind.
So this is last week, before she goes on hiatus, is next week, so I'll be doing her evaluation, meeting with her. And then everyone will follow after that in the month of June. I don't know a lot about Tara's contract. I did talk to her the other day about it. Apparently, the union reps are working on like current vacation time, her longevity, and those sorts of things. They're trying to make sure get retained in the contract. She didn't have any information specifically about her salary rate, so I don't have anything for anybody at the moment.
Okay.
Well, and I think if she's going in that direction to go with the union, it really is out of our hands.
Right, I mean, I think at this point,
And-
it's between the union and the town.
So I
and
think that's
there.
kind of that whole
Yeah.
problem, not that issue that put to bed. I
Right.
think this.
Yeah,
I know what you're
Yeah, it
saying,
was
they want
sort
to
of
take the
thing
longevity
that
away from.
Yes, I think that there was that issue about the things that she currently has that they were like, well.
Yeah.
The town was pushing back on. So,
Okay.
but I think at this point, it's a union in town.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Facilities, the catch basin out front is fixed. Reinforced, fixed and asphalted. They made 2 different visits in late April, early May.
And I have a quick
Yes.
question about that, and this may have been answered in other meetings that I missed, and I apologize.
No problem.
How come the highway department fixed that and not the asphalting company?
Yep, so, yeah, asphalting company's contract did not investigate the integrity of the catch basin.
And it wasn't part of
It
the,
wasn't part of the scope of the bid or anything like that.
Okay, I
So-
thought it was.
And then the catch basin started.
We actually did cover that.
Okay, sorry, then that's.
No, no,
fine.
no.
It's my fault, I wasn't here, so.
No.
that's John. I said,
Be opposite.
he said, this is the sort of thing we do all the time for the highway department, so it wasn't beyond their
Okay.
ability to do. So, okay.
Love it.
Obviously, we'll keep an eye on it, make sure it seems to be holding. I think it will be better than where we were.
Yeah, they did it right.
I mean, we could have had them do it, but it would have cost us money. It would
I
have-
feel like that was discussed originally and was part of it to fix it, because it was dipping before it got repaved, so I thought it was part of the
I
original
thought it
bid,
was too, but.
because we knew it was an
They
issue.
may not have even reinforced any of it when they came to
Yeah.
do the asphalt. I don't really know offhand.
Yeah.
It just
Fine.
wasn't deeply enough reinforced.
It's,
Yes.
it's corrected and the grand scheme
Yeah,
of things,
that's all that
all that
matters,
matters.
right.
Facilities, and I'm not sure where things are at right now with facilities in terms of their contracts with vendors. I've just been going along doing what I typically do and contracting with the vendors that I typically do. They will let me know when they've contracted with an HVAC company, for example, or window washers, I don't know, whatever. I have some concerns because last year, as everybody remembers, we employed Duos for landscaping. And in as much as they seem to be occasionally cutting the lawn, there's landscaped areas that aren't really being tackled. So
That we
not
were
weeding,
paying,
mulching.
Right,
Yeah, that we were paying.
we were
Duos.
told we didn't have to, no longer have a landscaper because they were gonna take care of it.
Exactly. So I'm actually gonna send a work order to John to say, these are things we need. And then if he says, we can't mulch, then I'll know.
Yeah.
But literally, when I talked to them last year, there was a panic from their landscape person because I had these guys working back there and he came by. So literally, my thought was, that means you're gonna do everything, right? We'll find out.
That was definitely our understanding and we budgeted for it
Sure.
in the past, but we kind of cut back and said, oh, we're not spending that money now there, so now we can spend it here. And
Yeah.
if that's not gonna be the case, we need to rectify that.
Right.
It
Yes,
also may be a factor of you don't know what you don't know.
right.
If the town's landscaper doesn't know the requirements that they need, like what we expect, then they may just be doing what they think is right.
So
So,
I figured if I spell it all out in work
Yep.
order extensively,
True.
then, yeah, so this is what the expectation. was.
Totally.
Okay. Speaking of landscapers, the post out there got bashed. And there's a nice big hole in the post. It's banked. It was Paul Perlman's memorial sign. So I did contact John and I sent photographs to him, but I haven't heard anything back. But I also contacted Karen at Science Plus, because I'm like, I'm not gonna deal with this not being done. I don't know,
No.
sitting there like that for any period of time. So she said that, they're the ones who put it together in the first place. Cost would be $190 to have it redone. That, and so the reason is the post is soldered to the back of that sign. So the soldering and that sort of thing is what costs more. She said, I'm sorry. And said,
No, like.
We shouldn't have needed to replace it.
Yeah, we shouldn't have needed to replace it. My concern is, I 100% think you should just, in my opinion, just go do it, but I don't know if that's the right way to go about it. Because if it wasn't damaged by us, then
Right.
it shouldn't come out of our,
right.
but.
I mean, so my hope.
I don't know.
The
Yeah.
the landscaper, it depends, was it the landscaping company that we hired, or
No,
was
I
it
think it was
internal people?
Internal people.
I'm assuming it's internal individuals who use the mower and then they were on the riding mower and they cut it.
Didn't
to
see it
focus
or
or
whatever.
Do we have the money in our budget?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean,
We-
it's $190.
I mean,
It's not, it's,
My opinion is, how long do I really want to pursue it? If
yeah,
I'm not gonna pursue it for very long and I don't get a response, I think as long as everybody's fine with it, I'm just gonna pull it from
Just pull
building maintenance. or-
Yep.
I agree,
It's town meeting. Yeah, you're wasting your time and that's money to
Right.
continue to pursue
True.
She
getting
gives
it.
me an invoice and then I give them an invoice and they don't deal with it at all, so I would just assume.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll see if John comes back to me, if not,
Right,
I'm.
he should
not
still be
opposed.
made aware, so that whoever's cutting the lawn can
At this
be,
point, he knows that that's
Yeah.
high explosives.
yes.
Yeah. So he is aware.
Yes, as long as that's, I guess, it's not like it's thousands of dollars, it's
No.
$200. Principal.
And it's only happened
It
once.
is the principal, I got my
Well, probably the first time I'm like, I am creating more work. Because I mean, it's, yeah.
Yeah.
But it happens, you know. I would hope that they would weed whack around it and then like really keep a wide berth, but.
Yeah, let's not have it happen again.
Yeah, that's the thing. you know.
So maybe you suggest that.
Yeah.
Yep, and you're right up of like, here are the things, in specific annotation of like, hey, we have memorial signs. And these need to be preserved,
Right.
so.
So in your work order,
Yeah, I mean.
list that, I would list that,
Totally.
100%.
And it is an area that typically is landscaped along with Bob's tree over there, so. Yeah, I can include it.
I would definitely,
268 for the uninterruptible power supply, that was back in the mechanical room that went kerflooey, so that's the cost of the new one from World Band, that was paid out. Elevator inspection will be happening on Thursday, June 25th, at 11 a.m. Custom alarm will be over as well, I called them to be on hand. Haven't had any weird sort of violations at all this year, which is good because I was getting tired of weird violations.
it's gonna be a silly question, but is that something that you're supposed to be continuing to do, or is that
Once
something
again,
that
it's like one of
facility?
these things that I'm not sure where.
I mean, they have to happen,
things are at.
but
If they contract, I mean, are they gonna contract with an elevator company?
They have an
for-
elevator
They do have
at,
one over.
at the town,
I
so
don't-
they have a contract with them, with somebody.
right, they have an elevator. for school.
Does that mean that at some point
It's
they're
different.
gonna find somebody else?
I would recommend when you have that schedule set, send it to Dan. Be like, hey, so I know this is coming up, but this is our normal cycle. And this is who's coming out for it.
Again, same thing, like out of sight, out of mind,
You know, yeah,
right,
exactly. But that, because you already planned out the schedule, don't reinvent.
don't reinvent it, yeah,
Just send it to him and be like, Dan, come over
Yeah,
when
why
this is
not?
happening.
This is
So we
happening.
can see everything that's going on.
Right.
yeah.
And of course, I never get any input on that, Otis just says, this is what we're doing.
And that's fine,
But I can definitely,
but it's not something I feel like the way they presented the facilities group was that you would no longer be needing to coordinate and manage these types of items. So.
the question is what's the
it's-
scope of?
Again, it's not a big deal. You've been doing it all along. It's not really that big of a deal, because like you said, they're just saying, we're coming on X,
Right,
but so it was supposed to be, the facilities team was
Right.
supposed to now manage these types of things. So if that's not the case and they still need you to do it or whatever, then that's fine, but it needs to be communicated.
yeah, it would be nice if I could just have like a 3-person conversation between John, Dan and myself to say, what is the scope of facilities for what we have here at the library?
Right,
Go for it.
Yeah.
I don't think any one of us would ever stop you from doing that.
no,
Sorry to speak for the group.
no, agreed. Again, it's one of those things, it's like the $190, it's not that big of a deal,
But I feel
but at the
like
same time, it's,
that group should have initiated that with every department.
So I.
yes, 100%.
And when you were talking through this, my brain was also going to scope and timeline, so we don't know. We don't know
Right.
what other contracts are already working through or what their timeline is, other things. Granted, that hasn't necessarily been communicated over. But maybe because you've been rocking it and doing a good job, you're lower on the oh shoot list.
Well,
Versus others in town.
Yeah.
Oh, shoot, so like that.
I'm trying to be cordial.
And it's one of those things, a squeaky wheel gets the grease, but at the same time,
right,
you know, we're trying to all work together as a team, but if that's now their job.
Yeah.
Or their responsibility is a better word. then they need to start taking ownership. And again, I'm not trying to like make more work for them, but that's kind of how it was presented to us. That you wouldn't have to deal with that kind of stuff.
Right.
Now, if we still have the contract, if you're still maintaining the contract for the elevator company and whoever else we were just talking about, custom alarm, then you'll do it until they take over maintaining the contract, and that's okay.
Sure.
But the communication needs to happen. Whose role is what, who's handling what,
Right.
so that you know what you should continue to be following up on and what they
The
should.
things that I can't be hands off.
Right,
Let's see, budget, so the April budget synopsis, 25,339 was paid out in April. 13,261 expended on salaries, 12,078 in operations. Through 10 months of the fiscal year, 78.6% of the budget has been spent. Our target should be 83.3. So we're a little under that at the moment. 77.9% of the budget has been spent on salaries, 79.4% on operations. Three largest areas of expenditure for the month were in utilities, fuel. We had a bill of about $1,500 from National Grid. The bill this month is a lot less than 411. So obviously the wintertime inflate is past us. Books, we spent 5,591 for the month of April, and then programming, we spent a little over 2,000. The books budget remaining for the month of May, we have about 11,700 left to spend, which means in May we spent about 7,000. As I said, we'll keep purchasing. I just had some more of those go out, so I think that we're in the neighborhood right now of about 9,700. So we're getting there. There are some options for expending that books money that I'm going to look into actually tomorrow and this next week. I think we'll be okay. Oh, because as everybody knows, we need to spend 19% of it just as soon as spend out that whole line we get. And I have some ideas. Let's see. Programs, story times, and play groups are doing well. Solid attendance. Music at the Blissful, which is Evan Haller. He does a music show and 43 participants. That's good because he'll be here monthly starting in the fall as a replacement for Lee Valtzer's puppet story times. Also, Deb Hudgens, sadly, her last sessions are going to be in June. She is great. She's done it a long time, and I don't blame her for retiring.
no,
No, it's a lot of all. So, summer reading starts very soon. Registration opens on Tuesday, June 16th. The first two programs for summer reading, Oreo Stacking and Flying High Dogs, I know, are at the very end of June. So all of this is coming. Tara's been working on that, putting together the publicity, and working through the incentive piece for the rewards programs. Projects, first grade visits are completed.
Excellent.
They went well, saw about around 80 students. We'll continue to host those in the spring going forward because it just seemed to work better. Number one, the kids were older and more attentive, which was great. They seemed to kind of have a better appreciation for everything. I mean, just in general, that was our feeling. And then the other really good thing was that we were able to promote or talk about the summer reading program a little bit. Kind of set the table for that, which is nice.
Yeah.
So that was good. Every one of the days that we hosted on 3 different successive Mondays, and the weather was amazing for all of them because they like to walk over.
Yep.
So
that's great.
very good. And I would say maybe about 2/3 of the kids who visited received library cards for the first time.
Good.
Awesome.
Still reading adult fiction, even though, as you can tell, most of the books for the book sale are over in the garage. There is a lot over there. We told you, but there is quite a bit. We're gonna continue to read fiction, whether or not we'll be able to accommodate it this year. If we don't, we don't, right? But I mean, we'll have it on hand and then it'll get moved over there eventually, but we're making it to the end. We're on the last aisle of adult fiction. You can see over there. Stuff going on over there. Working through that. Working on the too long in process list. So there's a too long in process list, which is essentially whenever we get new things in, we have a display. Book display. And the books typically get displayed for about 6 months. The issue is that once those books come off display and are supposed to go back into the collection, they're supposed to be scanned so that it frees it up for other libraries to start checking them out.
Oh, sure.
Or requesting.
Yeah.
And our in-process list that the CWMR sent us was like it's around 240 books. Too many for my liking. We're starting to chip away at it. It's really just a matter of grabbing the books and scanning them through and putting them back in the shelf, but it's a little time consuming. Some of the records that I've noticed are also just bad records.
Sure.
Like they're barcodes that aren't designated barcodes, so it must have been a misscan when we processed it the first time. But it's weird because we do have the book and there is a second record with the actual barcode, so maybe a mistake was made or something. I found a handful of those. So we'll be working through that list.
Question for you.
Yes,
To scan the barcodes.
Yep.
You have to go to the stacks, grab the book, bring it to the front desk,
Mhm.
scan the barcode, then bring it back to the stacks.
yeah, I mean, unless we have like a handheld scanner,
That's what I was just gonna ask.
Yeah.
Do we have a handheld scanner?
I don't
Is
know.
that something worth looking into? Just, and I don't know how many other instances
How would
you
it-
use it.
The question is, how would it work? Like, would there be the ability to scan in any number of them and then bring it back and connect it to?
Oh, no, you
Never.
need one
It's
that's
Wi-Fi.
actually Wi-Fi
I know it has to be
connected.
Wi-Fi.
Yeah,
You want one that's actually got the system in it, so you
Right.
can be
Yeah.
mobile anywhere in the building
Yeah.
and access
I've
this
never thought
system.
that. I mean, it's not that you
And-
couldn't potentially. It's
I'm
probably-
just wondering how many other instances would having something
Yeah.
like that be useful?
You'd be surprised.
I'm assuming,
A lot,
you wanna
yeah.
see when a book was last checked out, you can scan it right there at the shelf when you're reading, right? You're missing a book
Yep.
and it's misshelved, where is it supposed to go, or whatever, like, I'm
Right.
sure there's lots of
I
instances.
kind of only imagine that larger libraries have.
Well, that would be
Yeah,
my question.
capability.
So you bring the application's running on a laptop, you have the scanner next to it, and it's Bluetooth connected, you scan the book and find it. That's what you're saying?
Either that, or they actually have them where it's like on your phone and you're scanning it, and there's a screen here and you can do everything from that handheld,
Right.
oh yeah,
Or, yeah, or like a little,
everything. I mean,
it's like a, what
look
do you
at the
call it?
UPS driver who shows up at your house and he's got a little thing, it's about this size, and he scans the box and it puts
Yeah,
it right
you're
into
right.
the system and
You're
he
right.
can,
He's using his phone.
some of them are, yeah, but
Some
some
of them are, but like, yeah,
of them have other
yeah,
devices.
yeah. Like a bigger than a phone, but a handheld tablet kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, we used them in the Coast Guard and they were designed to go on boats, so I mean, they were fully waterproof and you
Yeah.
could scan a person, you could scan equipment, you could do anything.
We can bring it to our boat race.
But they've been around, I guess my point is, they've been
Yeah,
around long
it's not-
enough that
yeah.
it should be
It's not
fairly
new technology.
inexpensive
Right.
to get something like that, that maybe will help maintain some of these things.
I just started to ask them.
Keep some of those.
Honestly, like this discussion list, and if I just said, hey, listen. You have.
Yeah.
Totally, it's handheld scanners and.
And there may even be a library who's getting rid of their old ones,
Sure.
Yeah.
and we could get one real cheap, even cheaper than cheap.
Yeah, let me see if,
That would be amazing.
let me see if I can get any sort of response from other libraries.
It's not a priority, but it's just something that it might really help operations.
Because sometimes we're hauling, a whole set of things over from the cart and it's like,
Feels ludicrous to have to like figure out where it's supposed to be, run out and go get it, bring it all the way up, like, if you have 240 times, you have to do that.
right, exactly.
That
It
seems,
is.
we could get it done so
Unless
much
you
more.
want, unless you want an exercise, which,
Trying to
but I
get
know what you're saying,
Yeah.
absolutely.
But
And there may be some other, benefits.
You don't necessarily have to buy a specialized app to do that, but just
Yeah,
barcodes can be encoded and put into a spreadsheet automatically. So I'm just wondering if there might be something very, 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 very simple
okay,
that can allow you to do the same thing.
okay,
Like go away from your desk, scan a whole bunch of stuff, maybe I don't know, on your phone or maybe
right,
Bluetooth to the desk. I don't know.
sure, sure,
But scan a bunch of stuff and then have a list of barcodes that can then import into your software, whatever.
right,
So just,
I think they should be able to put their software
oh
right
yeah,
on
of
the phone,
course.
that's
but,
easier.
you know, just spending more money on
right.
software isn't necessarily
Oh, I'm not
No,
suggesting software,
no.
no,
silly, stupid.
I'm
thing.
Suggesting WMRs.
I'm suggesting hardware,
Yeah.
not software. We've
Yeah.
already got the software.
I'm thinking,
We have
would
to move the
it be
data.
through CWMRs, right?
Well, it's a good question, like, and that's another thing.
It is something that they offer, is it something that,
So they just,
right, because it would be
so
so
that's
definitely.
the software they
I
currently.
didn't necessarily talk about it.
So we already have the software, we just need a device that's
Yeah,
mobile.
take one, see.
Yes.
Right, and us being a smaller library,
Right.
maybe it's not something that ever got,
Offered.
right.
Sure.
Yeah. There's no way like Boston Library, which is huge, is doing that. It's like walking up to the stacks for a book.
There's lots of ways to do that. That's why I said-
There is, yes. And I used to do things like that in the warehouse. We used to have scanners and stuff for that.
Right.
Connect right up to our.
So yeah, I'll take a look.
Right, I mean, think about it, even in the, you know, like, for example, Target, or I don't even know, the stores that you can now walk around, Walmart even or whatever, you can walk around and scan items.
Registry or whatever.
And suddenly your list is there and you're paying for it right there and
Right,
you're putting it in your cart yourself. I mean, so the technology is there.
Yeah.
It's just whether or not they have it.
I bet you they do.
Right. I feel like
Almost
they do too.
guarantee they do. It's just a matter of what it looks like and what you can put it on.
Right.
okay. Let's see, town news. As far as the budget that was submitted for FY 27, my understanding in conversations with, the town administrator, we did not receive funding for 2 extra hours to extend Mondays to 5. There was not additional money put into the programming line. I requested 2,500 for that line. But we did get the furniture line approved, which means we should have, I believe it should be 2,500 in that line for this next year, which is good. Because we can, and I was talking to friends about this, combine money from that furniture line with what is remaining in the renovation fund
Oh, good.
to purchase chairs upstairs, which are not a cheap proposition, and maybe some other things too. So that's good. Let's see, Inspired Learning Day, I think is next week, June
Next.
4th. Chris Massey from MISCO is coming over. He's a counselor at MISCO. I guess he's got 10 to 15 students. They'll be visiting. Just gonna give them a quick, 5-minute, 10-minute tour. Tell them a little bit about the library, tell them a little bit about what I do. They really just want to have some time to kind of look around the place. Probably even just-
Promote some
just-
reading.
Yeah, I can promote some reading, very good.
For all the Bible vote rate.
Yes. But, and then they want to do some, like I said, just kind of be and read and so forth. They're really only gonna be here for about an hour. But, it'd be nice. It's a good outreach thing. And, SR, CBR. Let's see. Oh, something that I do not have on here. Oh, sorry, Ann Corin and I are gonna be connected in July. We'll talk about the bus stop, a potential bus stop, like a once a week type. I know, and then potentially a book club in Misco. I know, it's kind of.
It's like, geez, how many times we gotta talk about
Yeah,
that?
yeah, it's funny because I'm part of the school advisory committee over there, and we do talk about some of these things, but like, it's always, with other things being discussed as well, so. Hoping just one-on-one connecting with her, in July. Quick question, the friends wanted to do, Autumn Maurice and her mom had done a Pasanki workshop, if anybody knows what that is.
Sure. Yeah, Ukrainian eggs.
Egg decorating.
Yep.
Oh, I know, okay.
Sure.
Pretty cool. I didn't bring any photos, but they're neat.
Sorry,
Do you need an expert?
Well, why, are you an expert?
I have a family member that is an absolute expert.
So the only thing I had a question about was it uses a candle.
It can, yeah.
So, and she likes to have each person have a candle at their workstation. I wanted to make sure nobody had an issue with that prior to just saying, hey, listen, go for it. And she said that, you know, she wrote me and said that, she's hosted like 30 different libraries. She's hosted them for years and there's no problem. She's fully insured, can sign proof of insurance, and folks sign a waiver that was a full and harmless agreement when they arrive at the next focus on space. More than happy to speak with the director too if that helps, but.
this is the one.
Yeah, not
It's just that.
So I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna reach back out to Autumn, or, I mean, I'll reach back out to all of you and just say, we're a go.
Yep.
I talked to Tara, April 14th of next year was a go, because Tara doesn't have anything. That's, so they're gonna, that's the date that they, she's from New Jersey, so she's only up this way occasionally. But she makes a circuit, like I think in Vermont, New Hampshire, and then can be down here for a session, which is good.
My friends at the library, let me know if that's something you guys want to keep doing. I might have a resource for you. That's closer than New Jersey. No, but just a couple towns north.
Alright, fair enough. Let's see.
World.
Somebody who's like a Pasanki expert.
Yes.
How do you pronounce it, or how do you spell it?
P.S.
ANSKY.
Yep.
Yeah, Ukrainian egg decorative. They're beautiful.
They're beautiful.
Well, might be next meeting, I'll bring some.
And they
I was gonna
use,
say, I could bring one I have at home too.
they use farm eggs, which I guess are, said the shell is harder, right?
Correct.
Yeah. But
Goose eggs.
Goose, you don't, but unlike the
They might
eggs,
be able to
I think
look
it's
it up.
Polish when they actually blow the yolk out,
Yeah.
the yolk stays in.
No, the yolk comes out.
Yeah.
All the innards come out.
Yeah.
Don't worry.
Yeah.
It's not what-
I don't think it's what Autumn said, but
But maybe.
maybe she's not.
Yeah, it wouldn't last very long otherwise.
Yeah.
So,
It lasts till long.
it, yeah, yeah, the egg, unless the ones that you guys do don't, because that's too much.
It didn't sound right to me, but I was.
I'm not concerned as long as
Yeah.
the correct.
Yeah,
they're not sure.
They're not staying here, so.
Always doing like a.
I'm thinking Charlotte's.
Hiding the layers. Regional news, I'm not gonna go into a lot of detail with regional news. I attended two online webinars. MBLC did a webinar on library landscape of the state. It's pretty much mirrored what we already know about the challenging state funding issues and the challenging federal funding issues that have led a lot of towns to seek overrides this year. And so there wasn't a lot at that session, outside of the fact that my friend who works for the MBLC was retiring. It was his last workshop, so I wanted to see his last one. And it was good to find out if there was anything that I hadn't, you know, encountered. But it was mostly pretty familiar information. CW Mars had a circulation resource sharing workshop in the middle of May. They happen like 4 or 5 times in the spring. And it's, you know, all talking essentially about evergreen circulation policies with lost materials and handling payments and book club holds and just different sorts of things that have to do with circulation. Informative, kind of just a grab bag of stuff. So that was that. Does anybody have any questions about the directive?
Yes,
Oh, yes.
but it's going to lead directly into your budget discussion.
Okay.
So do you want it now or after?
Give it to me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there a way for us or for you to be able to articulate which parts of our budget is coming out of the state aid money? So can we identify on here, be like, this is what we're paying with state aid, this is what we're paying with town money?
Okay, I don't think there's anything well, let's see, wait, state aid this year,
We're paying, are we
Oh,
paying
wait,
on salary?
we are paying, yes, we are paying 4 hours a week
Yeah.
for a staff person. Which is, hourly, I don't know if she's probably at 18 something an hour. State aid isn't being paid out in any of these other lines, it's just salaries.
Just that one salary.
Gotcha.
Yeah, is that, I don't know if that.
So 4 hours each week
Yeah,
at $12 an hour?
Yeah, 4 hours each week. My understanding is that gets picked up this next year. By the town, we won't have to.
Okay.
But we,
So FY 26.
FY
This is
26,
happening now.
yes, yeah. 4 hours each week, attributed to state aid use.
Okay.
Or attributed to state aid.
Yeah, because what Jeremy suggested in our meeting was that the additional 2,500 that we wanted for the 2 extra hours
Mhm.
and the $2,500 for programming needed to come out of there.
Yeah, I do remember that.
That is what he said between the three of, when the
Yeah.
three of us
Yeah,
had
I mean,
that with him.
If there's an interest in doing that, we can certainly look into it.
Yeah, I mean, it bumps back. I was actually going to, when you were done, going to go back to, we need to go, and I was gonna plug it into, I don't know, policies or whatever. Because as a group, we need to come up with a written document, I think it can
Oh.
be written document about what our plan is for state aid. What it can be used for,
This
what
percent
we
is
do
gonna
with
be
it.
for this percentage
Right.
is gonna be for that.
Because
Percentage is gonna be
The
for that.
town has basically said, and Jeremy basically said to us that every single solitary budget request we get asked for moving forward is going to be told to us to use state aid. Unless we have a plan for it. Right.
Is he saying that about? I thought that was more in line with the salary request, but not with operation. But I don't know.
I don't know,
I
because
think-
he pushed back on the operational for the programming as well. So I looked at it as,
Yeah,
they're always gonna have us default to that
I
until
would
we
feel
can
really-
clearly state
Yeah.
what we're doing with
Yeah.
that. That was what
I
I
would be a
heard.
little concerned if every operation increase, whatever we're looking for, would need to come from state aid because
Well,
we want to state aid.
But
well,
only
that's
if
why
we
I'm
don't
saying
have a
if we have
plan.
a
Right.
plan for state
Yeah,
aid,
exactly.
If we have a
then
plan,
they're not gonna keep saying, well, you have
Right.
this chunk of money, what are you doing with
As
it?
long as the
Which
ducks
is
are in a row.
What's happened every time we've asked for salary increases or
That
whatever,
is true.
they're
So-
saying,
I don't necessarily think we have that conversation today, because we've had a lot of other conversations.
Correct.
But I guess I bring it up today with it will be on the agenda next time we meet, not next time we meet like next week, but next time our board just meets, to start thinking about some ideas. What percentage, do we keep a percentage in reserve for emergencies? What does that percentage look like? What else do we want to do with that money? What are we saving that money for? That's what the town wants to know. And I think we need to come up with a written plan as to what our intentions are with that money. So when they do come back and say, you need to spend it, we can go back and say, well, no, this is our plan for it. Or yes, we can up to this percentage because this is what we have available. This is our plan for the rest.
It's earmarked.
Right,
Right.
we need to come up with whatever that plan is, so it's not just a bucket of money kind of hanging out there, because they wanna understand what that's for, and I think we need
Is
to.
that because it can be utilized somewhere else within the
it can,
town?
it can
No,
only
they
be
cannot
utilized for
utilize
library
it.
stuff.
But that's their point, well, why are I giving you additional money in your budget when you have this money that you can use instead?
Right, okay,
So that's,
okay, yeah.
And
Which
we're,
is understandable, but
oh, totally, we're one of the only departments or boards that has that.
With that
Yeah.
kind of fund.
we might be the
Weird.
only one.
Sometimes highway gets weird pockets of money for doing specific jobs, so that comes in, that's separate, and no one else can touch that, but that's about it.
Yeah, it's unusual. There's,
Something to think about for next meeting, to kind
Yeah.
of, so we can brainstorm and start moving
Yes.
forward with something for that. Because, yeah, no, it should have been on this agenda, but there was so many other things on this agenda.
Yeah, we had talked about,
Yeah, we
I'm
did.
like, I gotta remember.
Did anybody have any questions about the budget report? We're a little over in programming at this point. That's not unusual. We'll probably be tapping into other lines with that. It's, like I said, pretty par for the course this time of year. Obviously, what you see here for the books number was this is the numbers for April. So, May, even though we're close to the end of May, it's still gonna be. I didn't know if you wanted me to try to generate both a May budget report and a June. Well, actually, that's not gonna be, we won't be able to do June either. So I'll just generate a May one for this next time. Does anybody have any questions about the budget report? Did you need me to get you like a figure as far as how much was used on the state aid for?
Short answer is yes, we need to know that, but long answer is we need our policy first before we can really go down that road of like, hey, here's.
So going back to your town news section with the 2,500 that we didn't get for programming and the 2,500,
Right.
not for furniture, because they, that did get.
Yeah.
It was the 2
It was
hours.
the 2 additional.
The 2 additional hours, like 2,500.
25.
Was that 25 as well? I thought it was something, I didn't think it was that far off from that number.
I don't think it's the one thing it is.
Yeah. Okay,
So we should find out what that is, because we need to plan for that for state aid
well,
FY 27.
I guess, no, it would be for, yeah, it would be for this coming year. Like, do we want to, I guess that's the next question is, do we want to fund those 2 things out of state aid? And do we want to make that decision now? Or do we want to wait till after we have that conversation next meeting?
I advise against making any decision on that
Yeah.
expenditure now, until we've really talked about
Agreed.
what policy should be.
Agreed.
I just wasn't sure, can we wait? Do we want to wait? And I'm part 2. All right, so this,
We're not gonna make a decision on spending the money
Correct.
from,
Thank you.
on the extra hours, nor on the programs. We're gonna hold off until we evaluate what we want as a policy for state aid.
perfect. All right,
And that ended our budget discussion, I believe.
yes.
Yeah.
And I think we've hit everything else on the agenda. Is there anything else that we want to discuss that we haven't yet? I mean,
No other choices.
No other new business.
Maturity.
Okay.
That's all.
yes, so the next question would be next meeting. Are we meeting in June? We are meeting in June, but the 4th for the joint meeting, that's next week. Do we want to meet again as a board? And it might be totally worth doing that after the meeting on June 4th.
Maybe.
Probably will be.
And I don't know if we want to meet the second week, which would be the 11th, or we want to hold off until like the 18th and give ourselves a week off.
I won't be able to do the 11th.
I won't be able
And I
to
can't
there,
do the
but that is, yeah, I'm not available.
I could do the 25th.
I could do the 25th.
Yeah,
I would probably be remote, but I would.
Okay.
Do it remotely.
So do we want to plan for the 25th of June? It's mad at you.
Yes, it is. Because you know who you were talking about. They just want to stick it to me there. Let me in there, I'm in.
All right,
All right, 28th you said.
25th, June 25th.
June.
All right.
Yeah. So in reverse, I could do the 18th, it'd likely be remote though. I'm going on my own Master Chief retirement.
Nice.
That's exciting.
Actually, 18th is better, 25th I'm gone.
So I will not be available. We're still on a road trip, so I don't know where I'll be. So I'm probably at a baseball game. That's a baseball
Trip.
road trip,
All right,
You
so,
want to do earlier and,
but you could do the 18th if you want. That's fine.
yeah, do you want to do earlier after the 4th, right? Meeting on the 4th?
yeah, we could, the 11th, but I think there were people that weren't available on the 11th.
No, the 11th.
I can do 11th. I could do the 11th.
I've got that actually written in as the next meeting.
It would normally,
Nice.
the second week, it would normally be the
So
11th.
that's literally just, it's literally 2 weeks away.
But we're gonna have a lot to, we're gonna have a lot to talk about after
That's
that,
a good
that
meeting.
meeting. Yeah, and then we can also talk about state aid. If we have those, we might just have those two things on our agenda and that's all we
Yeah.
discuss.
I like that.
But yeah, I mean, you want the directors and budget, right, or no?
See why, we
I
just.
mean, I don't know, like, I won't have a lot for you.
Yeah, I wouldn't worry about it because we'll just do-
Focus meeting.
it'll just be, yeah, like a recap.
Would you,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just,
And then you can talk, we can talk about state aid at that point, but we
would
can
you
just,
want me to send you something later in the month?
no, I don't think so. I think
Just
we'll be
try.
okay.
Yeah.
Give yourself a break.
Okay. So, oh wait, that's not, I can see a lot.
And then.
Yeah, to the
I
11th.
knew there was someone.
I'm away on next month. But I could do, like, can we do another night? As,
Yeah, I mean,
like, the 10th?
Yeah.
Uh,
The 10th.
Wednesdays are okay for me.
Okay, for me.
I think, we potentially are leaving the night of the 10th. Yeah, we're gonna be on.
Yeah, I can do another one too.
I mean, I could potentially do the 9th and
I
then
would do the 9th.
do it in the car, we'll be driving.
we could do it the 9th too, which
I
is
could
the
do the
Tuesday.
Works for me.
Okay.
I
Yeah,
do the 9th.
the 9th is good.
Tuesday the 9th, and,
Trustees. Tuesday. Oh, let me just double check one thing.
You're locked in at this point.
June, what is it, the 9th?
It's Tuesday.
All right, so there's how to buy supermarket coffee on Zoom at 6:30.
Oh, we're fine then.
But is that upstairs, I'm assuming?
Yeah, just she needs
It
us.
does.
Oh, it's on Zoom.
Right.
So yeah, it doesn't matter, never mind. Yeah,
Yeah, on there.
yeah, so doesn't have anything else, that's yeah, that's an online thing, sorry.
Cool.
Yeah, the guy with the coffee sommelier came in like last month or the month before.
Oh, cool.
He's recommending buying.
Mahoney?
supermarket.
Do we have a
Motion forward to adjourn.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Great. I am,
Is it-
I am